Good evening and welcome to today's Christmas Carol service hosted by Bangor University Christian Union. We are located in wet and windy, majestic Snowdonia to bring you some festive Christmas carols. We're collaborating and partnering with JMJ Choir, an amazing Welsh choir, is going to be singing some festive carols. And while we're going to be hearing some of the Christmas story read out, we're going to be hearing some brass being played by the amazing Bangor Uni Brass Band.
All the footage that you're watching tonight is pre-recorded and socially distanced. The way tonight is going to work is we're going to listen to some Christmas carols by JMJ and listen to the Christmas story told by our international students in their native language.
We're also going to be thinking about the theme of home and what that means this Christmas, even in a crazy COVID world.
So without further ado, let's join JMJ to listen to our first carol, Once in Royal David City.
Stafydd frenin yn y byd isel gwael. Dodau mawr gwael presef, nid o'i ffet I gwell i'w gael. Mae wendigau dwydd y fam, Iesu'r plentyn bach ddinan. Nid ymheseb yn anifail, y geiretau weledydd, ond yn eistedd mewn awdurdod, ar ei orsedd yn ynydd. Cydyrchafwn i'n ei gan, o'r god i'w enw glân.
Lukas 2, 1-14, Kelahiran Yesus. Pada masa itu, Kaisar Augustus menitahkan semua penduduk Empire Roma mendaftarkan diri untuk dibanci. Pembancian yang pertama dijalankan sewaktu Quirinius menjadi gubernur negeri Syria. Semua orang pergi ke kota masing-masing untuk mendaftarkan diri. Yusuf berangkat dari Nazaret di Galilea, lalu pergi ke Bethlehem di Yudea, tempat lahir Raja Daud. Yusuf pergi ke sana kerana dia keturunan Raja Daud. Dia mendaftarkan diri bersama-sama Maria, tunangannya yang sedang mengandung. Ketika mereka di Bethlehem, tibalah masanya bagi Maria untuk bersalin. Dia melahirkan seorang anak lelaki, anaknya yang sulung. Anak itu dibedongnya lalu diletakkan di dalam palung. Kerana mereka tidak mendapat tempat untuk menumpang gembala dan malaikat, pada malam itu, beberapa orang gembala sedang menjaga domba di padang. Tiba-tiba, malaikat Tuhan menampakkan diri kepada mereka dan cahaya kemuliaan Tuhan menerangi mereka sehingga mereka ketakutan. Tetapi, malaikat itu berkata, "Janganlah takut, aku datang membawa berita baik untuk kamu, berita yang akan menggembirakan semua orang. Pada hari ini, di kota Daud telah lahir penyelamat kamu Kristus Tuhan. Inilah tandanya kamu akan menemui seorang bayi yang dibedong dengan kain dan berbaring di dalam palung." Tiba-tiba, malaikat itu disertai oleh sepasukan besar malaikat syurga yang memuji-muji Allah. Termulialah Allah di langit yang tertinggi, dan di atas bumi sejahteralah manusia yang menyenangkan hatinya.
To Lord. Sing choirs of angels, sing in exultation, sing all ye citizens of heaven above. Glory to God in the highest. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Christ the Lord.
Next up, we have JMJ again singing Silent Night and O Little Town of Bethlehem. Also, we have Dawit, one of our Ethiopian international students, reading the next part of the Christmas story from Luke's Gospel.
If you've never heard the real biblical story, don't be afraid to check out our Facebook page or our podcast. Also, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to check out our website or get in touch with us.
ሉቃስ ምዕራፍ 2 ቁጥር 15 እስከ 21 መላእክትም ከእነርሱ ተለይተው ወደ ሰማይ በወጡ ጊዜ እረኞች እርስ በርሳቸው እንግዲህ እስከ ቤተልሔም ድረስ ሄደን እግዚአብሔር የገለጠውን ይህንን የሆነውን ነገር እንይ ተባባሉ። ፈጥነውም መጡ። ማርያምና ዮሴፍም በግርግም ተኝተው አገኟቸው። አይተውም ስለዚህ ሕፃን የተነገረላቸውን ነገር ገለጡ። የሰሙት ሁሉ እረኞቹ በነገሯቸው ነገር ተደነቁ። ማርያም ግን ይህንን ነገር ሁሉ በልቧ እያሰበች ተጠብቀው ነበር። እረኞቹም እንደተባለላቸው ስለሰሙትና ስላዩት ሁሉ እግዚአብሔርን እያመሰገኑ እያከበሩ ተመለሱ። ሊገርዙትም 8 ቀን በሞላ ጊዜ በማህፀን ሳይገረዝ መልአኩ እንደተባለ ስሙም ኢየሱስ ተብሎ ተጠራ።
I wonder how you felt when you heard the announcement from Boris Johnson that Christmas was indeed not cancelled. It's been my worry all term that Christmas will be cancelled by our leaders in government. But when that announcement was made, I was thrilled. To me, it was good news. I had great joy about it. And the best thing was that it was for all people, all 4 nations of the United Kingdom. And the great thing about it was that it meant that we could go home for Christmas. Now, when you think of home, I wonder what you think. Is that a wonderful thing that you can go for home for Christmas? You can put your feet up, you can have your parents cooking, you can enjoy the home comforts, the warm fire, the long nights, the carol singing, all those kind of things. Maybe going home for Christmas is perhaps not that. Maybe it's filled with dread, maybe it's filled with Mum and Dad are going to say this again, or remind me of this, or try and push me into my future in some way. When I think of home, I do think of the home comforts. Very recently, well, I say very recently, not in the middle of December, I promise. But recently, a couple of months ago, I went camping. And I quite enjoyed camping, and it wasn't the worst experience in the world, but by night 2, I was really ready for home. You know, I tried to make my camping experience as enjoyable as possible, but ultimately, you do wake up damp, wet, cold, and you do miss the comfort of home. You know, as a Christian, I look to the Bible and I recognise that the Bible speaks into this idea of home. The Apostle Paul in 2 Corinthians talks about living in an earthly tent, but longing for a heavenly home, where there'll be no more damp nights, there'll be no more cold nights. But one day we will have a heavenly home, a heavenly room. And that gave me great joy on my camping experience, that I knew that my bed was waiting for me at home, that the hot cooked meals were ready for me. And it helped me to endure my tent that I had for those days. And the picture there is us living our lives in a world where it's not always easy. Our earthly tent, the things that go on around us, can lead us to a place of physical frustration, can lead us to a place of mental frustration. But what a hope that actually the things of this life will not last. That one day, the promise for me as a Christian, but the promise for you, if you were to know and trust Jesus for yourself, is that you can know true home forever. You know, this Christmas, that offer is on the table for you. That you can know true home, the best kind of home. Not a place where you'll be laughed at or scorned, or a place where you need to project an image. Perhaps that's been your university experience, a projection of an image of who you really want to be, but really can't work out how to be. You know, the Bible says that heaven is a place where we will be fully secure, fully loved, fully known. That's the kind of home we want. Yes, it's the nice warm bed. Yes, it's the cooked meal. That picture of not having to be on a camping trip anymore. But also it's a place where we can be fully known and loved by someone who knows us the best. You know, this Christmas, I'm reminded of the shepherds out in the field. I don't know if you know the Christmas story well. Maybe it was a nativity story that you did in school many, many years ago, and you just think back in dread and laughter of the towels on the head and all that. Perhaps it was a cold night, but the shepherds were out in their fields looking after their sheep. And then suddenly, an angel of the Lord came down, and there was glory in the sky. I don't know what pictures you think of when you think of that, but bear with me. The announcement the angel makes is that this is good news that will cause great joy for all people. You know, with Boris's announcement, it was met with, well, it should be. Thank you. Christmas should happen. But this announcement that the angels make is the dawning of a new season. Is the first Christmas time. And it wasn't an announcement saying you could go home and you could enjoy the home comforts, but actually that someone has come. The announcement that the angels made was that Jesus had come. Born in a manger to the Virgin Mary and his stepfather Joseph. Humbly he came. See, this is the good news that the Bible talks about. This is the heavenly home that the Bible talks about. Because through Jesus, 33 and a half years later, his life would not end in the triumph that many people thought it would. It ended on a cross. It ended in a brutal way. Why? For love. Because he wanted us to come home. You see, on that cross, Jesus gave his life for all the wrong things that I and you have thought and said and done. The things that really, if we dig deep, we know are not right. And he came and paid for those. The greatest lawyer, the greatest advocate, the one who would die for us so that we may know heavenly home. And that's the story of Easter, and Jesus will rise again, giving us the hope of a future. So when the angels had announced that this was good news that will cause great joy for all people, they weren't embellishing a story, but they were announcing that we can come home, that we can know true home, a place where we're really known despite all our flaws, a place where we can be fully secure despite all our insecurities, a place that we're loved, a place where we have a seat at the table. Good news, and it causes great joy. And who's it for? People often say of Christianity, don't they, that it's exclusive, or it's only for the good people. That is rubbish. This good news and great joy is for people like you and me, people who have messed up, people who have a past. People that Jesus died for. To close up, I wanted to tell a story that Jesus tells about a father who has two sons, and this helps us example and think through what we've been talking about this whole time. The younger son one day turns to his father and he says, "I know you're not dead yet, but can I have the inheritance that is going to be mine now?" And the father, being a loving father, gives it to him. And this son goes to a faraway country and spends it all on drink and drugs and parties and women, and has a great time. And yet one day the money's gone and the friends aren't there anymore. He's forced to become a pig feeder. And one day, while feeding this farmer's pigs, he thinks to himself, even the servants in my father's house have it better than this. I'm going to go home. And I'm just going to offer to be a servant at the very least, at the very most. So he makes his way back, and as he is approaching his home, he sees the figure of a man running towards him. This is his father running towards him. In Jesus' day, it wasn't customary for, or it wasn't seen as a good thing for an older gentleman to run. And yet this father runs towards his son. Why? Well, because he loves him. He's a good father. He loves his children. And thinking through all that we've heard about the Christmas story of Jesus coming, of all we've heard of what it means to be truly home, let me invite you to come home. Because Jesus has come, this offer is open to us. Because of his death on a cross, this offer is open to us. And how will we be welcomed home? Will it be through gritted teeth of not this person, not him, not her? No, we'll be run to by a God who loves us and sent his one and only Son for us. So perhaps you want to chat all this through with the member of the Christian Union that you were invited along to this talk by. Or maybe you've just clicked on this link, and can I invite you to get in touch with someone from the Christian Union who can share more about their hope in this amazing Saviour who has come. And finally, I guess to round us off, can I invite you home? Can I invite you home?
Sing glory to the newborn King. Peace on earth and mercy light, good and sinners reconciled. Joyful all ye nations rise, join the triumph of the skies. Proclaim, Christ is born in Bethlehem. to the newborn King.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight in our carol service. We'd like to say a big thank you to JMJ, the brass band and SDG Productions for making this all possible.
SDG Productions have an amazing wealth of online events that they're putting on after this event. They've got Bangor Uni Dance and a digital concert on the 19th of December, along with their joining with JMJ again and brass band, so do make sure to check it out. We also put a big thank you to Cardiff Christian Union for lending us Nathan Davis. If you have any questions on the back of what Nathan was talking about, do feel free to give us a message on our page, on our website or whatever.
So have a very Merry Christmas.
And a Happy New Year.